Do you want ideas for using your 12 by 12 pattern paper without making scraps? Hi, I'm Jess from JessCrafts.com, and I'm here to help you make the most of your crafty supplies and time. So let's get making. Today I have some 12 by 12 paper that has these 4 by 4 squares. And this is pretty popular. I think it's to do with like Project Life scrapbooking things. So you see these pretty often in 12 by 12 paper. They're really cute. They are often, a lot of the sentiments on them are great for cards. But what I often find is not every single one of them is a perfect sentiment for a card. So sometimes I find myself wanting to use the back, or like maybe, you know, it doesn't have a sentiment at all, and you could absolutely stamp a sentiment or add to it or something like that. As an example, I have some birthday paper here because I think that that's really useful to everyone. But I also decided I would make some St. Patrick's Day cards just because it's kind of fun to make cards for even like holidays that aren't like big holidays. Not everyone celebrates them. They don't think of them as a card making holiday, but it's like that's what makes it a fun surprise in the mail when you send one to a friend or your grandkids or something like that because they weren't expecting it. Okay, so like the Kiss Me, I'm Irish. I'm like, I don't know if that's a card sentiment, but that's fine. Some of the other ones are like totally fine to put on the front of a card, but aren't necessarily sentiments, like Luck of the Irish. This one also would be really easy to cover up. So that is something I also explore about these. But this template 12 by 12 paper busting template for A2 cards, number 24, is designed for these. This does mean that there are 23 other free templates available at jesscrafts.com that you can download individually. Patrons have access to these templates early. So like at the beginning of the year in January, they got access to the 10 new 12 by 12 templates that I would be sharing over the week. So that's a way to get access to them. Channel members the same way. So I have Patreon and I have YouTube channel membership. They're basically similar rewards, but you can get it either way, or you can get them in the Etsy shop. There's so many ways. And you can definitely get them for free. You just have to be willing to put in a little bit of time of, you know, picking them out and getting emails sent to you. Okay, so let's get focused on the template. So it shows that we use 6 4 by 4 squares. In the template, just to make things cleaner, I show you just kind of cutting these 6 from the left side of the paper. But because of the way the template is designed, you're cutting 4 by 1 inch strips. So you can cut these into the 4 by 4 squares and start there and pick your favorites of these. You do not have to use only those 6 on the side. So just cut your whole paper into 4 by 4 squares and pick your favorites. So once I have them all in 4 by 4 squares, there's gonna be some that are clearly the best sentiments. Wishing you the happiest birthday, celebrate. Time to party's okay. This one I could definitely stamp a sentiment on. Party like a rock star. That seems like a great one. It's your birthday. 3, 2, 1, make a wish. And okay, so I have picked 5 that I'm like, absolutely, that is totally a sentiment. I'm just gonna be able to put that on a card. And then I have 3 that I'm like, I probably would wanna add something to these ones because they have a lot of blank space. Or this one says, let's eat cake. I think that's probably fine for a birthday card. It's maybe not the most traditional sentiment. I could also cover that sentiment with my own sentiment, but then that kind of is just as much work as stamping on one of these. I think I like the balloons best personally, and I'm just gonna pull out a stamp and stamp something on there really quick. And then so my 3 remaining squares that in the sketch are kind of represented on this side, I just have to cut them down to 1 inch strips. If when you trimmed them, because sometimes when you're trimming these 4 by 4 squares, you have to be pretty precise in terms of not letting any of the other pattern show. So this will be a little bit perhaps difficult to see, but we'll see if my camera can help us out. Do you see there's a little strip of orange? I probably should put like a black paper against it or something, but I don't have one right now. Here, let's try it with this green. So there's a little bit of orange there because that came from the pattern that's next to it. And so I would want to trim that off. what happens sometimes then is they wind up being like just shy of the 4 inches, but in this particular pattern, or sorry, this particular sketch, it doesn't really matter if your strips wind up being a little bit narrower or anything like that. So don't stress too much about that. Cut your 4x4 squares such that they look the best. And then we're gonna flip these over to the back side, so those other ones aren't gonna matter. And if they're like a hair under 4 inches, we'll have some room for error. No worries. Okay, and then continue cutting those. Then you'll see that the sketch calls for some cardstock mats, and you're going to get a 4 1/4 by 4 1/4 inch mat and 4 1/4 by 1 1/4, so it goes all the way around these pieces. You'll need 2 of those and 1 of the larger mat. I would suggest picking a color of cardstock that works well for every one of the cut aparts you picked. So like in this instance, I'm like, you know, pink's probably great for this collection, but maybe pink doesn't look so good against this orange, for instance, because there's no pink in it. So maybe I would pick the blue. But that's why I was kind of waiting until I picked which ones of the cut aparts I wanted to use before I picked my pattern paper. Or my cardstock mat, my cardstock color. I think this bright blue from Recollections works well. There isn't the same color per se in the collection. It's actually a lighter blue, but I think things are kind of popping off of it a little bit, and I like that choice. So I wanted to just show you that this is, sorry, my camera hates solid papers of any kind, doesn't know what to focus on. So I want to show you how efficient this can be for cardstock mats. So you're gonna cut your 8 1/2 by 11 into an 8 1/2 inch square, which will get you, keep my hand in the way so it knows what to focus on, you will get 4 of these cardstock mats that are 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. Then you could take this leftover piece and it is 2 1/2. So that means that you can cut it to the 1 1/4 that you need by the 4 1/4, and you're gonna get perfectly, with no cardstock scraps, some of the mats that you need. Now, if you're gonna make 6 cards, so I have enough fully for 2 cards here, and then I need to go with the next one. So if I do that all again, I'm gonna wind up with more cardstock than I need. So the second time I do it a little bit different, but I just wanted to highlight how to do the first one because it's rare that it works out that there's literally no pieces of scrap. I will often also start with scraps of cardstock, but in this case, because I know it'll be pretty efficient, because I need that 4 1/4 measurement, I started with my full sheets. And so here we're gonna need another, at least, am I doing my math right? Oh, I think we need 5. I might have just got my math wrong. I didn't make a template for this cardstock because I'd have to make you 2 different templates and all that. But okay, so then we're gonna cut it to 1 1/4 again, which will bring us to 2 1/2. And each one of these 1 1/4 by 8 1/2 is enough for a card. So we have now our 6, and out of 2 pieces of 8 1/2 by 11 cardstock, this is the only cardstock scrap you have. Pretty sizable chunk. Like, you can definitely use this for a future mat, and also we could use it for like fake foam tape, but I just wanted to show you that this is a really efficient cardstock use as well. Okay. Once we've cut all our pieces, we are ready to assemble, and I want to start by putting the cardstock at the top and bottom, using the cardstock mats first, and then centering it up on the sides, because if there was a little bit of error from the cutting, I would be able to kind of fix it here. So instead of making it even on all 4 sides, I would prioritize the 2 sides, the 3 sides that you're going to see in this particular sketch. since the bottom is going to be covered. Then the cardstock scrap that was left over is going to be able to be really useful right here, because I'm going to put this large piece over it, and if I put adhesive on it, it's going to be kind of resting on these two and then sort of bump down. And since I'm using a thicker cardstock, I think it gives it a cleaner look for me to put a little bit of support behind this. So we won't even have any cardstock scraps. In fact, you might even need some other scraps to help prop up some of the other cards. Since I was able to take the one scrap that we did have and cut it into 3 decent sized chunks, I would need 3 more to finish it off. I always have plenty of cardstock scraps. And then I'll line this one up. Again, just kind of, the advantage of putting down the cardstock mats first sometimes is being able to make sure that the pattern papers are lining up across the card. Or like here in this instance, for some reason, this is a little bit taller. It was probably because it was one of the ends, like it was along the edge of the paper. And so I didn't have to trim one side to get rid of any excess or something. So, you know, little things like that. I don't really worry about that. You could trim it down. It's not, you know, perfectly, this border side is a little bit thinner than this border side. It doesn't matter to me, but if it matters to you, you can totally trim things up before. I'll keep going and assemble all 6 cards according to the process that I showed you. And then I also made 6 cards from the St. Patrick's Day paper I showed earlier. I think that it is a really great way to use up those 4x4 squares, because I have sometimes bought them because they're really cute. I'm like, this will definitely make fast cards. I should absolutely get these. But then I don't actually get around to it. And so having this sketch, just kind of like, you know, if you download it and you know, I can always go to this idea when I get those 4x4 papers, or I need to make some fast cards. You know, again, I have like really fast birthday cards here. They're fully embellished once I assemble the paper, because I mean, I had to stamp a sentiment on this one, but a lot of them I did not have to. And so it can really make the process quick and take a lot of the stressful part of the thinking out of it, because, you know, yeah, you can go ahead and add a cute little critter or something if you want, but you can stop right after the pattern paper. If you found this video helpful, here's another video where you can find more ideas for enjoying your crafty time and supplies. Let me know you like this video with a share to your crafty community, subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss the next template or tutorial, and check the video description for product links. See you in the next video.